pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
Freezing, Ollie.
Freezing
It's not even 10
still.
degrees out there, bro.
I know, it's like the never-ending winter, man.
I was shocked to see you walking up this morning. I thought for sure you'd be in your car.
Well, I came back from Wisconsin and Indiana thinking it wouldn't be as cold, but sure enough, it was actually colder here in Colorado than it was over the holidays in Wisconsin and Indy, which are north. So
Yeah, how was your Christmas?
it was great. It was great. Spent some time with my lady's family. Courtney saw where she came from, middle of nowhere. Her house is surrounded by cornfields, and it was cool just to see a very different life, small town USA for sure. Ate
Yeah.
some Wisconsin cheese.
Cheese curds?
I didn't get the cheese curds. They were definitely hyping up the cheese curds, but the place that they recommended was closed. So I
That's
got
crazy.
her mom made an amazing blue cheese omelet. Oh, with some turkey bacon. Because I don't eat pork.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Blue cheese on eggs, huh?
Yeah, blue cheese, some green apple, and turkey bacon. That's what I said. I was like, I don't know about that, but I tried it. I was like, damn.
Yeah, that's an interesting combination.
Yeah, how about your Christmas?
That was good, man. We started it with a road trip out to the western side of Colorado for Trey's wrestling, and then drove through Moab and stuff up to Montana, so we got to see some different parts of the country.
So the arches.
We did, yeah.
Nice, those are
Unbelievable.
amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it makes you realize how small you are.
Yeah,
You drive by these massive rock formations, like wow, they've been here for thousands of years,
right.
and it was good. And Montana actually wasn't any colder than Colorado, so I got to stay cold the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was good. It was nice, man. It was, it was a good time to reflect on where we've been and where we're going. And I'm glad to get you back here so we can get our talks going and continue to
Likewise.
push forward for 2020.
Yeah, new decade, 2020.
Do you remember as a kid, like how long time seemed? Like you're like, school is forever.
Oh, school day seemed forever.
A school day was like the longest thing in history, and then a school week was long, and a school year was long, and now all of a sudden, I don't know how it feels for you, but for me, like a decade flew by. Like 10 years just flew by.
Insane. Yeah, I graduated high school 2009, so it's just, I mean, that feels like yesterday. It's just like,
Yeah.
what? 10 years?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And I actually hadn't even thought about it being a new decade until everybody started throwing out these best of the decade this and best of the decade that. And the irony for me is, like, it went by so fast. If you asked me something in 2011 that happened, it was like a critical moment in history or what team won some huge, I can't even remember.
No, yeah.
I literally it went so fast, I have no idea what happened in 2011.
It all seems like a blur. Even 15, 16, yeah. Time flies. That's why we
Yeah.
got to make the best of it. Live purposeful.
Yeah, and that was part of going back to Montana that was nice is we hadn't seen my mom or that side of my family for Christmas since 2000.
Wow.
And I don't know,
Wait,
man.
when was the last time you saw your mom?
Well, I was up there for my grandpa's funeral in June.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd seen her like 3 or 4 times this year.
Right, but just not
at
for Christmas.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember I was talking with Andrea, and we are like, well, we didn't want to travel with the kids in the winter, and we wanted the kids to be at home so everybody could come see them. And like their whole lives, they've never been up there for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I went out to the cemetery and looked at my grandma and grandpa's headstone to talk to them a little bit. And I was looking at the dates, and my grandma passed away in May of 2001. So I started thinking, okay, the last Christmas we were with my mom and that side of my family was 2000. Both my grandparents were still alive.
Wow.
And I'm like, gosh, it just goes by fast.
Yeah. Got to make the most of it, man. Yeah, talk about time flying. I was at my cousin's wedding in Indiana. Cousin got married. My other cousin, who's younger than me, has a son, a 1-year-old. We just look around. It's like, wow, where did time go? I remember being little middle schoolers on neighborhood swim team together, and now we're getting married and having kids.
Well, it's interesting looking at that, thinking back to, okay, 2000 was the last Christmas I had with that side of my family. And just reflecting, I stopped for a minute. I was like, okay, what was happening then? And what'd you say? You were in like grade school or something in 2000?
Yeah.
Well, I was already a policeman, so we were preparing for the Y2K crash.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody, like, think about how far we've come. The last Christmas I had with the family, everybody was apprehensive that all the systems would crash when we switched to 2000.
How funny.
We would 2001, right? Like we had literally just overcome all the Y2K hysteria, not knowing if banks would shut down. Some people, there was the doomsday things that said the world was ending.
Yep.
You know, and I'm just like, wow, how far have we come now in 2020? Literally everything's at our fingertips. All the information in the world, relationships, the ability to get better, the ability to improve ourselves is all right here in our fingertips.
It's amazing. I think we barely had cell phones then.
I don't even think I did.
Yeah?
Yeah, no.
I think there were. I didn't have one. I was a little kid, but I remember just seeing these giant cell phones. Beepers were probably still.
Oh yeah, we definitely had, because I moved here in 2001 and they issued us a pager.
Yeah.
And you were a rock star if you had a pager. Right, but it was so funny because you get the page, you had to pull it out and then read what it said, and then you still have to go find a phone to call somebody back. But that was
now we got robots coming on board, AI.
Yeah.
2020.
You got swipe texting.
You love that, huh?
Yeah, I do, man, but I make a lot of mistakes in it. I need to get my swiper inside my phone to understand what I'm trying to swipe better.
I never use
We're just
that.
not communicating very well right now.
I'm a button man all the way.
Yeah. So what are you today? You know, we're wrapping up 2019. By the time everybody gets this, we'll be a day into 2020. Let's talk about what we're gonna do in 2020. What do you have set for yourself? Some ideas, thoughts?
Yeah, I have some ideas. So tonight, listeners, you'll be hearing this right at the start of the year. We're recording today's New Year's Eve. So this evening, I'm actually meeting with my lady, Courtney. We're going to make some vision boards and do a little planning. You know, Jared, I haven't had too much of an opportunity because this last end of the holiday has been crazy traveling. Went Puerto Rico, Wisconsin, Indiana. A couple weeks before that was in Egypt. Was so much back to back to back to back. And I think I had mentioned in a previous episode, I just read an awesome book, highly recommend it. Stillness is the Key. And my year, you speaking earlier, inspired me a little bit of really wanting to have a little bit more stillness in my life. This year, 2019, I've just finally, after many years of trying, have hit somewhat of a pretty good rhythm with meditation, with journaling, and I have found that most of my life I've always sought answers with external things. Who can I meet? What appointments can I set up? What workshops can I do?
External.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm finding looking more internally, again, it's still a practice, but with meditation and adding some stillness into my life, confidence and decisions are arising. I'm able to make choices better when I'm reflecting on what's going on. So I definitely want to have more stillness. I want to solidify those habits and make those daily habits of meditation and journaling. I've done a pretty good job this fourth quarter of really solidifying that. So that's going to be big. And another one of my big goals is to finally learn how to play an instrument, work a different side of my brain. I'm going to be playing the piano. Already got booked. My mother actually gifted me 12 lessons for Christmas. Yeah, so I got those booked up. I already had my first one, and going to be messing with that. And with career, man, I don't have. That's a lot of different balances at play. We'll see kind of what happens with that. I don't have a specific resolution. I do have some revenue goals and some targets I want to hit, but I know that A lot of things are changing in that field as well.
Yeah, and honestly, like those, I think the monetary things are so. I'm not a huge monetary uh, goal person. Like I know some people are like, no, you need to see yourself making this amount of money and visualize it, and there's some truth to that. But for me, a lot of that's out of my control, right? Like the market may just go crazy and I can make more than I ever envisioned, or it could be awful and I don't make as much. So for me, I'm really looking to slow things down. I think that's the big, like finishing the book and reflecting and seeing my grandparents' headstone and the dates and realizing what took place in those years and how fast it all went. Um, I'm going to be very intentional on slowing my time down and really just enjoying the moments I have with people. I think this last year, my first year away from police work, I carried over a lot of the same habits. And one of the things that I brought with me was my previous position, they paid you to be there for 10 hours a day. And you had to be productive in 10 hours a day. And one of the ways you showed how productive you were was your calendar, right? Like if your boss jumped on your calendar and looked and saw you had a meeting from 8 to 9, a meeting from 9 to 10, 11 to 12 you worked out, and boom, you had these meetings, it looked productive.
Hmm.
And I think I carried that mindset with me into to the retired side where I'm running my businesses, and I booked a lot of my days that same way. Okay, dude, we did the podcast, but I gotta go at 8:30. I gotta be somewhere else at 9, and I kept that same pace. And while it's productive to some degree, I also think it shortened some of the enjoyment I had and some of the depth of relationships that could have been because let's be honest, if you're meeting with somebody from 8 to 9 and you know you have to be somewhere else at 9:15, at about 8:45 I'm pretty much disengaged and focused on, okay, I gotta get all my coat together, I gotta get, you know what I mean. I'm
Hmm.
starting on plan.
Yeah. You've noticed me here when I got something right after
Yeah,
recording.
both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's so I'm purposely, something I want to do for myself this year is I want to create buffers between appointments, whether it's a half hour, a full hour, um, to where if we're having a great conversation and I enjoy what we're doing and I'm learning, and then I can go longer if I want, or
Mm.
I can have time to just go reflect on what took place. I don't have to run right from one thing to the next.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. The greatest minds in history in the world plan white space, leisure time. Even Benjamin Franklin, I forgot what book has his schedule, but
Yeah,
he has blocks of space, leisure,
yeah.
whatever. He blocks out that time to just have empty space. There's this Asian dude, Jim Quick.
Oh
He's
yeah.
known for brain. I still haven't gotten way deep into his stuff, but I want to learn more
He's the
because
dude that can teach you how to read really quick.
read quick, better memory,
Yeah.
basically highest functioning brain you can have. And I listened to him on the dude who founded Quest Bars, Tom Bilyeu or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
on his
show.
podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, his show. And he was talking about how it's so important to plan white space.
Yep.
And they talk about how the best ideas in the world don't come when you're grinding out, when you're in a meeting.
No.
They come when you're on a walk, when you're meditating, in a dream, while you're sleeping.
Well, and
Right?
let's think about that, right? The grind.
Hmm.
If I had to think back for this last decade, which I've already told you, I don't even remember a lot of it, just because it went so fast. Grind was a key term, right? Everybody was on the grind. You got to grind. You got to grind. And what did we do? I think we bought into a lot of this hype that only you have to work super hard, sleep less, push more, which there's some truth, right? You do have to sacrifice some leisure at times to really get ahead in things. But I also think there's that balance of the quiet time and the peaceful time and just enjoy what's around you time. And that's what I want to explore more for this upcoming year, is really being more purposeful, not just with my time, but how I schedule it. Not necessarily, okay, I have to work 8 hours a day, I'm gonna book all these meetings, but really enjoying what I get to do. Because honestly, if I don't enjoy all these changes and we don't enjoy these relationships that are around us, why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
What are we working so hard for if we're not enjoying it? If we never actually see the fruits of our labors? If you run your own businesses, well, part of the joy of that is, in July, if it's 85 degrees and sunny, you can be like, hey, I'm gonna work later tonight. I'm gonna go paddleboard for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we don't allow ourselves to do that. I guess that's what I'm saying is I want to allow myself to do more of that.
Yeah, love it. It gets hard to do. It gets hard to do because we feel sometimes, and Gary Vee's a big advocate of talking about how he never had a weekend and
Yeah.
he worked so hard. And I found myself really getting caught up with that, and especially this fourth quarter, I really allowed myself some travel time. And I really asked myself, like, what do I work so hard for?
Yeah.
It's to have these experiences, and I've been depriving myself of them for the past 4 years, really.
And it's a balance, right? Like sometimes it is good to have a short window where you're like, okay, I'm focused because I know this kind of produces for the end of the year. But like day to day to day, if I could take a snapshot and show you my calendar from 2 years ago, I color coded everything. So like I knew if this meeting was related to this topic or that. I had categories. Like, okay, if I'm meeting with this dude, it's about academy stuff, or this guy's about business. And you would look at my day and you would literally see an entire no free time whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I was always supposed to be doing something, and to the point where it would cause me stress. I would look at it and be like, oh my gosh, I got so much to do. Well, then I had to come up with another cheat, and I had to switch all the codes. As soon as I completed something, I'd switch it to a different code, a different color, so that when I looked and I saw my completed days, I felt fulfilled because I did all this, but it's done. Now I look to the other days, this is what I have to do. And I don't, that's not what I want for this year. I want to see one important meeting that I enjoy being at, that creates results, that's productive,
Mm-hmm.
and then some time to reflect, time to work on whatever we just talked about at the meeting, time to create more stuff,
Mm-hmm.
time to just enjoy Andrea, time to just do something, and then I'll have another meeting later in the day. um,
Okay, so
and I don't think that's wrong.
I don't think so either. So that's a resolution to have more stillness, have more space.
I
Right
should
now,
probably read that book too.
for what's that?
I should probably read that book too. I think
Stillness is
Brianna's
the key?
reading it. I think she has that book. She
Yeah,
took it on a trip with us.
Ryan Holiday. It's
Yeah.
a really good one. You'll like it.
Yeah.
Is- so have more stillness, have more space. Right, not as cluttered. So that's your resolution.
Yeah.
Now, what are the habits that you currently have that you're going to have to change? Where's the habit piece for this in order for you
Yeah.
to accomplish this resolution?
I think habit wise is one of the big things is feeling like I'm not working hard enough if I look at my calendar and it's not full of stuff.
Okay.
And realize, because my habit now is to book my days solid,
calendar.
color code them, and then change the color when I complete them. And for a while in my life, I found like fulfillment. I looked, man, that was a great day. I had all these meetings. When now I'm looking back, I'm like, well, half these meetings were a waste of time. Like nothing came out of these meetings, so I got to quit doing those. So I think the habit I'm gonna create is kind of like you said. I'm gonna block time in my day that's just simply open time. Whether it's Andrew and I going to do something, whether it's I'm reading a book, whatever it is, I'm just doing something that's not necessarily busy work.
Mm-hmm.
And then prioritize my time, right? Like I got in a habit where, if people wanted to meet, I would meet, and now I'm really like, okay, how do I restructure those? And make sure that if I'm having meetings, there's a purpose to the meeting and it's producing something. Because when I reflect back, a lot of the stuff that caused me stress was rushing from one meeting to a next to another. And the reality is I probably didn't need half those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kept taking them because I thought that's what I was supposed to do, because that's the grind, right? You got to keep moving, meet. And the reality is I think I'm more productive when I really stop and dig deep into something and then have that time built right behind it to either take action on it or reflect and make sure we're heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the new habit, so the old habit for you has been fill the whole day, fill
Feel
the
it.
whole
Yeah.
schedule. And I have the same thing, like 7 to 7,
Yeah.
got something going, right? And now what needs to replace the old habit is blocking out time every day for white
Yeah,
space.
but
Do you
not
have,
just on the calendar, right? Because that's visual, but
right?
actually holding myself to it.
Right. So that
Right,
was my
that's the
next question.
habit, right? Is
How,
I got to start practicing it.
so how are you going to hold yourself accountable? Because I've done this before,
Yeah,
and then I start feeling, oh, well, I can just put it in my leisure time,
yeah,
right? Like, I can throw something in my white space,
yeah.
and I failed at having that leisure block. So I'm interested in hearing how you're going to hold yourself accountable for blocking that every day.
Yeah, I think the first off is you share it, right? Like we've talked about in other episodes. If you share what you're working on, then other people can hold you accountable. But Andrea and I are gonna sit down tonight on New Year's Eve and kind of go over a 2020 mastermind for our family and for us as individuals. And that's the thing I'm gonna really push that we do together is create these blocks of time that are just allowed to be us. And whether it's us doing something together, us reading separately, her going out to coffee with a friend. But I have, having Andrea and I've been together, what, 20, it'll be 24 years this year.
Dang.
I don't have a better accountability partner than her.
Nice.
So I think that's the good thing. And then I think I love being able to share this stuff with my kids. And I'm okay with them being like, hey, Dad, you said you were supposed to be doing this.
Right.
And I really thought about it on some of these road trips, man, that I would drive, 10 hours to get to a place because I had work to do once I got there. And as I'm driving, I'm like, that's a cool little town. Oh, there's a historical monument. Oh, there's something cool. And I never stop. I just got to get to where I'm going. And that's kind of like a microcosm of life, I think, at times. It's like, okay, well, we have this goal. Like, I got to get there as fast as I can. And we miss all the stuff around us. And, writing that book was all about enjoying the small things around you, learning from the people that are in you, not looking to like, oh, I'll learn when I get here or I'll meet somebody important when I get there, but you're meeting important people all the time. And honestly, I'm scared, dude. Like, I'm scared. I'm seeing my parents' age. I'm seeing Andrea's parents' age, and I'm the next generation to age. Like where you're at. You got grandparents, you got your parents, you got you. Some of our listeners have great grandparents, parents, and then them. So you're like, oh, I'm 4 generations from getting old. Well, I'm like, man, I'm the next generation. So if there's one thing I can do, it's slow time down a little bit and really enjoy what time I have. And I think I was scared last year because I had made so many changes and I had to provide for my family and I didn't want to let people down, that I thought I just have to work as hard as I can in as many areas as I can, see what works. And now I think having a year of experience, I have a good idea of what's working for me, what's not working for me, but I also really know that I enjoy people. And I enjoy times like this, and I want to create more of those. And how do I create more of them? By slowing down and enjoying the ones I have versus thinking you create more of them by adding more. Because by adding more, I was actually taking away. By adding more to my plate, I was not enjoying you as much because I was thinking, okay, I got to get to this, and I got to get to, and then I'm cheating that person, and that, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I had a lot of stuff, but none of it really didn't bring me alive. I didn't slow down. I didn't really get to enjoy it. It's kind of like going to that 5-star restaurant, ordering the fanciest dish, and eating it as fast as you can. But you don't enjoy the flavors. You don't enjoy the experience. And that's really where I'm at, man. In 2020, I'm going to slow myself down.
Nice. Yeah, less is more, quality over quantity, 5-course dinner, one little course at a time. No, yeah, I totally get it. So I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners are, and I just want to dig deeper into this because I think that it's so easy to fall off the resolution, fall off the bandwagon. I don't know the percentage, but I think it's most. I know it's definitely over half. Probably 80-90% of people fall off their New Year's resolution before the end of January.
Right.
And that sucks. Goggins was saying I think it was a video I saw last night. How David Goggins, if you guys haven't checked him out, he's definitely pretty.
But don't watch his videos right before bed.
Yeah, yeah, it'll get you
It
hyped
gets
up.
you hyped up, man.
He uses a lot of f bombs, but he was saying he said time doesn't give a fuck
Does
about
not.
if it's your birthday or Christmas, and how so many people make these hollow resolutions, these hollow desires, and then fall off because we give ourselves too many options.
Yeah.
Right, we have too many options of, oh well, I could work out today, maybe not. I could do this, I could do that, to where we end up just being paralyzed by the paradox of choice. We have so many choices, so we don't do anything.
Yep.
So with this, with white space, are you looking to have? So you said just time together, just us, family time.
Yeah.
So are you going to block out every day a specific amount of time for just spending time with the family, or just whatever you feel like
Yeah.
doing? How specifically is that going to look?
No, I think for me, I'm just going to block out time that's just my time. And whatever's available that day is how I spend that time. And if I choose to write in that time, I write. If I choose to read, I read. Um,
And are you going to choose in the moment, like when you get there? Like, let's say, for example, and I'm just kind of wondering,
Yeah.
like how I would do it. Like, let's say you're like, okay, midday every day, I'm going to have, let's call it Jared time,
Yeah.
your white space, noon to 2. Let's say
Yep.
you do 2 hours a
Yep.
day. Are you going to do, oh, it's noon, what do I want to do right now? Or are you going to say, this week for Jared time, I'm writing through the whole week? What do you think that's going to look
I don't know. I think I'll probably. I don't struggle being disciplined. You know what I mean? I don't struggle getting stuff done if I know it needs to be done. So I think for me, I'll initially I think I'll just leave it open. But I think as I progress, if I'm reading a book that I really enjoy, I'll make sure I read that book during that time, or have some other activities. I mean, one of the big things is my fitness will fit in there. Like, I'm going to do something for my fitness. That'll be where I put my workouts. Because, if you don't have your health and your body and your mind, then a lot of other stuff really doesn't matter. So that white space for me is fitness as well. I consider that kind of the same self-development and growth. But I think we'll see. I think there'll be times it'll be scheduled. There's other times where I'll kind of play it by ear. But what I won't do is sacrifice it. I'm not gonna skip it this week and say, I'll put a meeting in here instead of having this time. And it may not be every day. It may be like 2 days a week I have 2 hours to myself. That might be the best thing. I think being open to it, you'll see what works for you. Because if I try 5 days a week for 2 hours, I might think, okay, that's too much time for myself. Let me go 3 days a week. But I think it's different for everybody. But what I know is I want to slow down my days. I want to slow down my time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works for you. And then the accountability piece. So what happens? And we may need to follow up on this, because I'm interested when you have a specific format. What happens when you don't have Jared time? How are you gonna? What are?
I don't know.
What are the consequences?
I don't know. I'll
for that?
talk with Andrew tonight and see like what we agree to. Like, is there like a monetary fine?
Okay.
Like, my first thought is there should be a monetary fine, right? Because everything's so money driven, and maybe like $5 a time that you work during your quiet time, and you throw it in a jar, and then at the end of the year, that jar is, we take a trip with whatever money, like whatever money's in that jar goes towards some leisure time for the family.
I like that. Cool.
And I think just for me, it's just a huge change in not thinking I have to be busy all day, every day to validate my worth. I think a lot of us get caught up there. If I'm not busy, I'm being lazy. Well, you're being lazy if you're not doing anything productive, right? If you're sitting down mindlessly watching TV, that's probably lazy. Now, if you're taking an hour and reading a book to understand yourself, or to share, or to learn piano, if you, that's not lazy, that's growth. But we have this idea that we can't allow ourselves that time.
Yeah. Yep. I have definitely struggled with this one. I have, and I'm not sure either. I'm gonna do a lot of thinking and writing and planning tonight. But one thing that has come to mind that I'm scared of committing to, that I've thought about,
Right.
is not drinking
Yep.
for an entire year, of just giving up alcohol, because I've done a month, I've done
Yeah.
2 months, and
Well, it's interesting because a couple episodes back, you reflected that you actually enjoyed this period of time of sobriety.
I did.
So why do a year? Like, how did that come about? Like, what are you? Because the first time was kind of forced upon you externally.
Hmm.
So what's the drive for a year?
Well, kind of this whole talk of a whole decade going by,
Yeah.
and after doing the 2 months, going back to drinking, drank a little bit at my cousin's wedding, and a little in Wisconsin, and while traveling, I didn't feel as good. I didn't feel as good as I did with those 2 months. And don't get me wrong, I have a great time when I drink. I have a great time with buddies.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like to drink, and it feels good. But I also reflected on, wow, over the past 10 years, I haven't gone more than 2 months without drinking. It would just be very interesting for me to see. In the grand scheme of things, a year is such a short time, to where I would just be very interested to see how that year would go of practicing that sobriety. And most of the highest functioning minds on the planet don't drink like I drink.
Yeah.
I drink. I don't really drink to just have a beer, a
Right.
casual drink. Usually I drink to get drunk.
Yeah.
I have a few to feel good.
Right.
Is the way I drink, and that's been how I associate with alcohol for so long, that I've thought about it, but then I have that fear of missing out. Like, oh, well, I'm going to go to some weddings this next year, and I'm going to hang out with my buddies.
Yeah.
And I really reflected on it. I was like, man, some of my closest relationships with people, especially back home in Texas, some of my best friends, alcohol is a centerpiece of
Yeah.
our relationship. Yeah, we hang out, we do other things, but most of the time there's alcohol involved. And I also thought about, that would also test the truth of my relationships. How powerful are these relationships? If I still go back and hang out with some of my
Yeah.
best friends, oh, I'm not drinking, man. How is that going to affect the dynamics?
Yeah.
Because it will be difficult. I've thought about it, so I'm not there yet. I'm not gonna say to the On Purpose community, hey, Ali Abu Islam's not drinking for 2020, not a drop of alcohol. But it's something that I'm thinking about. And if it's not for the whole year, I'm definitely going to have some periods of time with no alcohol. But I really think, I mean, I just can't see any other result than increases in productivity and health and awareness.
Well, and I think, just speaking from my experience, when you're in your 20s, partying's what a lot of people do,
Hmm.
because this thing, the mentality of being 20s is you're living forever. So tomorrow's really not that important. So I can party hard tonight, and if I'm hungover tomorrow, it's not that big a deal. And that's kind of how we approach it. And then you kind of getting to where you're at, you're getting closer to 30, and you're realizing, like, okay, now, man, partying's fun, but then I'm hungover the next day, and I'm kind of unproductive for a whole day. So really, a party is like a 2-day event now. And how many 2-day events do I want to have in my life? And then, you get to my age, and you're like, oh, dude, it's like, one, if I stay up too late, it messes up my next day. If I stay up too late and I'm drunk, it's messing up 2 days, because now our idea of time starts to change, right? Like, tomorrow's become more important as you get older, which I think is a natural progression for why people party hard in their 20s and kind of settle down as they age a little bit, because they don't want to give up so many tomorrows.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So it'll be interesting. That's definitely something
We
I'm
still got
reflecting on.
we got about 12 hours, 14 hours to decide what you're taking into 2020.
12 hours. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not drinking anytime before my fight, January 25th. So I
Right.
got 25 days until that, and that's a big goal for me, that's moved to 2020. And I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about that. I think that, and it's funny. One of my uncles is like, dude, like, why do you do that? You know, like, okay, you're strong, you can beat someone up. Like, who
Yeah.
cares? Da 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 da. And I told him that I truly enjoy the art, mixed
Yeah.
martial arts. I truly enjoy the testing yourself mentally, physically, strategically. And I explained to him that to me, it's like a chess match with more painful consequences. You know, so just
Immediate
your
feedback.
immediate feedback,
Yep.
and that applies to everything. So I'm really looking forward to this experience, completing this goal, and also after that freeing up some time, because that is a time consuming goal
Yeah.
of
But I think that's a key, and something our listeners I hope pick up on is you're not drinking for the next 25 days, 26 days, whatever it is. Um, but you're replacing that with more workouts.
right.
You're not drinking because you know not drinking is a sacrifice you can make to perform your best on the 25th.
Hmm.
And I encourage our listeners to do that. Like, if you're taking something away, make sure you're replacing it with something else. Don't just say you're quitting something, you have this void in your life, because think about it, anything you're giving up has become a habit.
Yeah.
Well, if your habit is every day at 5, I go to happy hour, and you say, okay, on January 1st, I'm done with happy hours, I'm quitting drinking, but you don't have anything filling from 5 to 6, it's easy to fall back into what you used to do, right?
Hmm.
Whereas you just use that example. Okay, from 5 to 6 now you go to the gym. Well, now it's easy to build a good habit because you literally replaced one with another.
Yeah.
But when you create these voids in your own time, it's easy to fall back. I think that's why a lot of people fail on their New Year's resolutions is they're giving up something, but they don't have a new habit in its place.
Yeah. Yeah. In order to hack your habits, you have to take massive action to build momentum and replace the habit with something.
Right.
Great example that I like to use: when I used to dip tobacco. I used to dip tobacco a lot since I was like 16 years old, spitting in cups, losing weight
Yeah.
for wrestling in high school. And it had been something a habit that I could not kick for the longest time. This may not work for everybody. I'm an extreme type of person. So I had to associate massive pain and take massive action. So I ate a can of dip on New Year's 2016, 2017, puked it up, was
Ah,
disgusted, and I replaced it every time I didn't really get much cravings after that, but anytime I even thought about it, I had gum. You know, just that oral fixation. But I
yeah.
had to take some sort of massive action to associate pain uh, with that habit as well, and that was an extreme for me
Yeah.
to do that. And same thing with any other habits, is having an extreme goal. Like if you're gonna, I like how you say you get in a cage with another person, take off your shirt and fight in front of a bunch of people. That's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
That's accountability, to where if I didn't have a fight scheduled January 25th, I'd probably be getting drunk tonight, New Year's, drinking, probably wouldn't have a strict diet. But because that goal is set, that's a massive goal. I have to take massive action towards.
Yeah.
That's the accountability piece that's going to force the positive habits
Right.
to be built upon.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing people forget is they don't have the accountability side. They have resolutions, they have things they want to change, but there's really nobody holding them accountable, or there's no event holding them accountable. Whereas for you, like on January 25th, you're going to know if you did things right. You're going to know if you dieted properly, if you abstained from alcohol, if you put yourself in the best position to perform.
Hmm.
So that's why I like people having these big goals, big dreams. Is let's see how I perform. So if my New Year's resolution is to run a half marathon, because seems to be pretty popular nowadays. Okay, well, what do I have to do every week to make that possible? I have to run.
Hmm.
So let me replace, whatever. Maybe I watched an hour of TV every day. Well, now I'm going to do cardio that day, because I know when this half marathon on June 25th or whatever day it is, that's my time to perform. And it's a moment of truth. Did I do what I said I was going to do?
Hmm.
And too many of us shy away from those moments of truth.
Yeah,
You know?
the fear of booking it,
Yeah.
getting it on the calendar. I think that's huge. If you have a health or fitness goal, you can sign up for a a physique show. Get on stage in your underwear and pose for people.
Yeah.
Something that's going to hold you accountable. For me, piano, I'm going to have to figure it out, but I want to learn a Mozart or a Bach song and maybe have a little recital.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe have a date where I'm inviting
Sure.
people. Hey, I'm playing this song over dinner, whatever. Have something that's going to force you to show up and book it now, especially now when we have this new decade, fresh new year. We have the inspiration. That's when it's best to take massive action. Pay $300 to sign up for a bodybuilding show. Set a date. Tell everybody. Post it on Facebook. I want to fight in an MMA fight on this date, or I want to have
Right.
an instrument concert on this date, and you'll be forced to put the habits in place that'll get you there.
Yeah, we were products of it. The book, it's not a secret why the book was ready before Christmas. It's because I told everybody I was going to have a book done this year.
Hmm.
And now it was at the very end, but it still got done. And same thing with you. You got the fight, it's getting done. And then, so set those goals, have the events, and it doesn't have to be a physical event. Like people can grow in all kinds of ways. You love Toastmasters. So if one of your goals is to, get more comfortable speaking, join a group. There's so many good opportunities to grow with other people if you just put yourself out there and you're not afraid of that initial pain, that initial shock that the process is going to create.
Yeah, yeah, massive action, and then alternatives to the old habits that you want to change
Yeah.
is huge.
But I'm 100%. I firmly believe if you're replacing one, if you're getting rid of a habit, have another one already set that's going to replace that time in your day.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, because time is a commodity, and if it's vacant, if it's empty, it's easy to fall back in your old habits until you replace them with the new ones.
yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about the drinking one. So on Purpose Community, if you have any ideas on that, on a replacement for drinking, I was thinking maybe like sparkling water or something. But
Oh, physical drink.
yeah, something physical to her, because I know I'm gonna be in those situations, happy hours,
Well, it's
family
part of your
events,
business is that social aspect.
friends.
So,
Yeah, that social aspect to her, and honestly, part of most businesses, corporate world. I mean, there's so many happy hours in
yeah,
any industry that you're at. Drinking is a huge part of American
yeah.
culture.
And there's actually, oh man, I was watching a show about this the other day, and I can't remember if it was Japan or China, but it's actually like some companies screen who they send to meetings over there and will only send people they know consume alcohol, because it's like a sign of disrespect
If you don't,
if you don't drink with them.
really,
Yeah, to where they won't even do business with you.
wow,
Isn't that crazy? But yeah, I mean, alcohol, guys, is a huge part of our fabric of our society.
yeah,
I mean, so many people, sit down with dinner and they have to have a beer, and they don't even know why they're having a beer. It's just what they do.
hmm,
But yeah, so for something like that, I think you definitely have to have an idea of how do you handle that.
yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'll keep everyone posted, and I'm excited to see what the community has in store for 2020. It's going to be an
Yeah, let's
exciting
get out
year.
and share some of these things. Man, it's episode 42. That means we are 10 short of an entire year.
Dang.
So what started as just an idea and a conversation has now developed into a full-fledged community that we're proud of and we're excited to continue to grow with. We got some new additions we're bringing in 2020 that I think you guys will really enjoy. But none of this is possible if we don't take that first step.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing in your lives. Things are possible, but it's up to you to take that first step. Nobody else can do it for you.
Yeah, so let's make it a massive step and continue on with this purposeful practice.
Yep.
For episode 42, this episode, Hack Your Habits. The purposeful practice is part 1. Reflect on what resolutions and goals you have for 2020. Set some if you don't already. Part 2, what habit do you want to change or begin for 2020? Part 3, what old habits are you going to be replacing with the new ones? And then part 4 is, how are you being held accountable for new habits? That's probably the most important part, because if you don't have an accountability part, You're just going to be one of the very common metrics of being done with whatever you
Yeah, it's
set.
easy to let yourself down.
Yep. And then most importantly, email your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com. I think we'll probably do one or two more shirts.
Yeah.
Shirts for submitting your practice. So email it. You may get a shirt in your mailbox.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else for my friend?
I think we're all good. Ready to
All
get the
right.
year going.
Yeah, and I think, something else I want you guys to leave with is both Ali and I have time set aside on New Year's Eve to like vision board and create and set the expectations for 2020. And it's not by accident that we believe in that structured piece and that we believe in seeing what we're going to create before we've created it, and so I encourage you guys, as you're setting your goals, you're setting resolutions, you're changing habits, see yourself being successful, visualize that success, and start to create it before you're even moving that way.
Amen.
Cool. All right, team, remember, life's far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We thank you all, and we'll see you again next week in 2020.
Yep.